WWE management just pulled off the most disrespectful move in recent memory, and I'm about to expose exactly why Jacob Fatu's return is a calculated slap in the face to every fan who believed in organic talent development. While Roman Reigns sits on the shelf with his so-called injury, Triple H just threw Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed under the bus in the most brutal way possible. You want to know what's really happening behind the scenes? Jacob Fatu didn't just return, he was rushed back to clean up WWE's mess because they panicked when their golden boy Roman couldn't carry the load anymore. And guess who paid the price? Two of the most promising superstars on the entire roster got buried to make way for another member of the Anoa'i family dynasty. Let me break down exactly why this return is everything wrong with modern WWE booking, and why Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed deserved so much better than being sacrificed on the altar of Samoan supremacy. Jacob Fatu's music hit during what should have been Bron Breakker's moment of triumph. The former NXT champion had just delivered a picture-perfect spear to Bronson Reed, the crowd was on their feet, and for once it looked like WWE was actually going to follow through on building a new main event star. Then boom, those Samoan war drums started pounding, and you could literally feel the air get sucked out of the arena. But here's what really makes my blood boil: this wasn't some organic storytelling moment. This was damage control. Roman Reigns' mysterious injury has left a massive hole in WWE's Bloodline storyline, and instead of taking the opportunity to elevate fresh talent, creative panicked and hit the nuclear button by bringing back Jacob Fatu. The visual was absolutely devastating. Fatu didn't just attack Breakker and Reed, he systematically destroyed them. We're talking about a 7-minute beatdown that left both men looking like absolute amateurs. Bronson Reed, who's been booked as this unstoppable monster for months, got tossed around like a training dummy. Bron Breakker, supposedly the next big thing in WWE, couldn't even get his hands up before Fatu planted him with a superkick that would make Shawn Michaels jealous. Let's talk about what they just did to Bron Breakker, because this is where the situation goes from disappointing to downright criminal. This is a guy who dominated NXT, has legitimate amateur wrestling credentials, comes from wrestling royalty through his father Rick Steiner, and possesses the kind of raw athletic ability that comes along once in a decade. Breakker was finally finding his footing on the main roster. His feud with Reed was generating legitimate buzz, his in-ring work was getting better every week, and fans were starting to see him as a legitimate future world champion. Then Jacob Fatu shows up and makes him look like he doesn't belong in the same ring. The most insulting part? Breakker barely got any offense in. We're supposed to believe that this genetic freak of nature, this powerhouse who can German suplex opponents twice his size, couldn't even mount a defense against Fatu? The booking made zero sense from a storytelling perspective unless you understand the real agenda at play here. WWE has a Samoan problem, and I'm not afraid to say it. Every time they need to solve a booking crisis, they reach into the Anoa'i family tree. Roman's out? Call Jacob. Need heat for a storyline? Bring in Solo Sicko. Want instant credibility? Dust off the Bloodline playbook. Meanwhile, guys like Breakker who have been grinding and improving get tossed aside like yesterday's news. If what happened to Bron Breakker was bad, what they did to Bronson Reed was absolutely inexcusable. Here's a guy who spent years perfecting his craft, worked his way up from the bottom of NXT, developed into one of the most believable big men in the company, and was finally getting the monster push he deserved. Reed's Tsunami Splash has been protected as one of the most devastating finishers in WWE. His matches with top-tier talent like Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman established him as a legitimate threat to anyone on the roster. The man weighs over 330 pounds and moves like he's half that size. That's not something you can just teach or fake. But apparently none of that matters when Jacob Fatu decides he wants to make an impact. Reed took not one, not two, but 3 superkicks and still tried to fight back, showing the kind of heart and determination that should be celebrated in professional wrestling. His reward? A hip attack that sent him crashing through the announce table in what can only be described as the most one-sided demolition in recent memory. The message WWE sent was crystal clear: it doesn't matter how hard you work, how much you improve, or how over you get with the fans. If you're not part of the chosen family, you're expendable. Reed's months of careful character development got erased in one night to service a storyline that nobody asked for. Let's address the elephant in the room: Roman Reigns' injury. The timing here is more suspicious than a referee missing a steel chair shot to the face. Reigns has been dealing with issues for weeks, missing shows and segments, but somehow his injury becomes serious enough to write him off television right when creative needs maximum chaos for Jacob Fatu's return. I'm not saying Roman is faking his injury, but the convenient timing allows WWE to have their cake and eat it too. They get the sympathy for their top star being hurt, they get the drama of Jacob Fatu having to step up in his absence, and they get to reset the entire bloodline dynamic without having to explain why Roman would allow someone else to lead his family. The problem is that this creative solution came at the expense of two rising stars who deserved better. Instead of using Roman's absence as an opportunity to see what Breakker and Reed could do in featured roles, WWE immediately went back to the Samoan well. It's lazy booking disguised as shocking television. Here's the truth that WWE doesn't want you to acknowledge: the Bloodline storyline has become a creative crutch that's actively hurting the development of new stars. Every major storyline somehow revolves around Roman, Solo, the Usos, or now Jacob Fatu. Meanwhile, talented wrestlers like Breakker and Reed get used as stepping stones to maintain the family's dominance. Jacob Fatu's return wasn't about what was best for the overall product, it was about protecting the Bloodline brand at all costs. The man is undeniably talented, I'll give him that. His work in MLW was consistently excellent, and his reputation as one of the most legitimate tough guys in the business is well earned. But bringing him back to squash two of your most promising up-and-coming stars sends a terrible message about WWE's priorities. This is the same company that talks about wanting to build new stars and create the next generation of main eventers. How exactly are they supposed to do that when every time someone starts gaining momentum, they get fed to another member of wrestling's most protected family? The most frustrating part about this entire situation is watching fans try to defend it online. Jacob Fatu is a monster, he should dominate everyone. Bron and Reed will bounce back from this. It's just one segment, stop overreacting. Those fans are missing the point entirely. This isn't about one segment, it's about a pattern of behavior that's been going on for years. WWE builds up new talent just enough to make them useful as enhancement for their chosen stars, then acts surprised when nobody gets over at the level of previous generations. Bron Breakker should be in the position Jacob Fatu is in right now. He has the look, the athleticism, the family name, and the hunger to succeed at the highest level. Instead, he's being positioned as someone who can't hang with the real stars. That's not just bad for Breakker, it's bad for business. Bronson Reed represents everything WWE claims to want in a modern monster heel. He's athletic despite his size, he has a great look, his character work has improved dramatically, and he connects with audiences in a way that feels authentic. Using him as a punching bag to establish Jacob Fatu's dominance is short-sighted booking that prioritizes immediate impact over long-term storytelling. The ripple effects of Jacob Fatu's return are going to be felt for months, and not in a good way. Bron Breakker now has to recover from being made to look weak against someone who's supposed to be on his level. Bronson Reed's monster push just hit a brick wall that might take months to recover from. And Jacob Fatu gets slotted into a main event position he didn't earn through the normal progression that other wrestlers have to follow. This is how WWE creates their own problems. They wonder why new stars don't connect with audiences the way previous generations did, but they refuse to give those stars the same opportunities to succeed. Roman Reigns didn't become a main eventer overnight, he had years of protection, countless opportunities to succeed, and the full backing of the company even when fans rejected him. Breakker and Reed deserve that same investment, but instead they're being used as sacrificial lambs to maintain the status quo. It's the kind of short-term thinking that's plagued WWE's creative process for years. The worst part is that this was completely avoidable. Roman's injury could have been the perfect opportunity to see what these younger wrestlers could do with increased responsibility. Instead, WWE took the safe route and brought back another established name to maintain their comfort zone. Here's what everybody should be asking after Jacob Fatu's return: if he's this dominant and this ready for main event status, why wasn't he brought up sooner? If WWE had this weapon in their back pocket the entire time, why did they wait until they were backed into a corner to use him? The answer reveals everything wrong with modern WWE talent development. They don't build stars systematically, they react to crises. Jacob Fatu should have been integrated into the main roster months ago, given time to develop his character and build relationships with the audience. Instead, he gets parachuted in as a deus ex machina to solve their Roman Reigns problem. Meanwhile, wrestlers like Breakker and Reed, who have been doing the work, improving every week, and earning their opportunities, get pushed aside for the quick fix. It's the difference between building a sustainable future and putting band-aids on immediate problems. Jacob Fatu's return and the destruction of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed represents everything frustrating about modern WWE booking. Instead of using adversity as an opportunity to build new stars, they defaulted to their comfort zone and sacrificed promising talent on the altar of short-term solutions. Fatu is undeniably talented and deserves his spot, but not at the expense of two wrestlers who were finally starting to find their footing. Breakker and Reed worked too hard and showed too much promise to be used as enhancement talent for the latest Bloodline expansion. The fans who are defending this booking are enabling WWE's worst instincts. We should demand better for wrestlers who give everything they have to entertain us every week. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed deserved their moment, and Jacob Fatu's return stole it from them in the most disrespectful way possible. Until WWE learns to build stars instead of just recycling the same family connections over and over again, we're going to keep seeing talented wrestlers get wasted while the same names dominate the headlines. That's not just bad for Breakker and Reed, it's bad for the entire industry.